Hey viewers, and welcome back to another episode of Kyle's Reviews, where in today's topic we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Just like in the rest of my TMNT movie reviews, I'm just going to start this off just like the other reviews and say that yes, I am quite of a fan of TMNT itself, and always has been ever since I was a child. I did watch some episodes of the 80s TMNT and even to the 90s ones. But my more fun times with TMNT was through like the recent series, like with 2012's TMNT that had a solid enough run for 5 seasons, and with Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is actually quite a big surprise for most people, as including cell specs. But of course, this isn't the only time where I'm reviewing a TMNT movie, since I did it before back then in my past reviews with TMNT, and even if it's not the best, it is kind of pretty underrated. And of course, the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and the animation in this film and in the series goes hard. Like, they can be almost using like the same levels as some of the JoJo action scenes, which I'm starting to question as to why I give the animation a 9 out of 10. And I think I'm starting to question my own opinions here. But enough of that. What's the most important thing is with TMNT's Mutant Mayhem, which is of course directed by none other than Seth Rogen himself. And of course, this did get a lot of people hyped with the Spider-Verse visuals. But since now I've seen it and it took me quite a while, how did I thought of it? The plot of the film is centered around the main four turtles themselves. Well, compared to other TMNT versions, this is the one where the turtles feel like they want to go out into the human world and feel accepted like how most humans are. While also having some bit of setbacks with trying to get the acceptance of Splinter's father in order to be more independent than being the usual type of mutants they are. While also dealing with the villains that want to show them off as heroes so that way they can show off that they're actually worth accepting. And off the bat, this plot does see a lot more weakened compared to the other Nickelodeon stories. As compared to the other anime films in this year, this one the plot of this one kind of sticks out a bit of a sore thumb, since it is kind of predictable as to know what will happen once the turtles try to plan out on how they can get accepted and trying to beat out the villains. It doesn't make it too different from other films where the leads want to get accepted by the humans. Heck, even it kind of feels similar to Otto the Alligator Boy. But the plot itself does seem weak. But the directing by Seth Rogen along with the execution does make the film feel worthwhile. The more entertaining parts of this is with the humor, and I would say that the jokes in this film are pretty good. Not humorous, but there are actually ones that can give out a good laugh, and it does fit well with the modernness of the film itself. And sure, it does have some few pop culture references, and it can make the film a bit outdated in your perspective, especially for one that's released in 2023. However, I can't really blame that though, since the film itself is set in New York, and it is mostly filmed with pop culture references and other stuffs in it. So at least I'll give Seth Rogen credit that he does know how to bring up the creativity in that. And of course, this wouldn't be a TMNT film if it didn't have the action. And I know some action enjoyers wouldn't be a bit disappointed in this film because there aren't really as much action as most people would expect there to be. But as a guy myself that wanted to hear more of the story and the characters besides the action, it does help to actually get more into the characters more so than the action itself. And this is not to say that the action is bad or anything like that. It's actually more than that. It's outstanding with the use of creativity and intensity throughout the action scenes with the turtles and with the villains they're going through. Especially with a big climax that really puts up the intensity with. And in short, the story may have a bit of a weak plot and a bit of a script that could be done a lot better, but the execution and other elements in the story makes this film a slightly quite of a fun experience, even for TMNT fans and newcomers. And with a different type of story like this, that even if isn't too different compared to other films, especially in TMNT, does the characters do anything to actually help out the different aspect in TMNT as well and give us some new layers to them? Well, yes. Yes, they do. The best way to describe the main four turtles is that the development is more of a group than individuals, which actually does give out a bit of a nice direction and new direction in other films where they had to give more development to a group than just individual characters. So I like that. But going on to the turtles themselves, they are a bit of the same, with different quirks as well, like with Leonardo being the leader in training, Raphael being the tempered turtle who enjoys fighting, Donatello being the tech expert, and Mikey being the goofy comic relief of the film. They do remain true, but they still have layers that actually do make them stand out compared to the other versions of the Turtles back in the past. And what really does help is that they have the teenager aspect that's actually well executed and does fit well with the tone that the film goes through. And these turtles themselves are voiced by teens, and I mean actual teens. And they do sound like they're actually having the time of their lives and actually try to be like good performers like actors. They're just doing what they do best, and that's all you need for teens to act. Going on to other characters, we also got Splinter, who is the protected father who wants to make sure that turtles don't want to go to the human world, so they won't get like what happened to him back in his past. Sure, some will make him generic, but Jackie Chan does give out a good performance that actually makes this Splinter stand out compared to the other Splinters in the other TMNT projects. There's also April O'Neil that what makes her stand out is that she wants to be a news reporter, or actually more of a, I don't know what you call it again. I'll just have to research back. But the only problem is that she does suffer a bit of an anxiety, which can explain why she's been treated back in school. And there's also the villains. Well, we start off with Cynthia Utrom. She's the typical villain who has a grudge against mutants, but wants to use them for her own like mutant powered soldiers. But if you want yourself a better villain, then look no further to Superfly, who is honestly the type of villain you definitely want in the Spider-Verse film like this. Well, even if he wants to do Baxter stuff and the other mutants things, means where they want to take over the world and wants to kill every living human being so that way it can only be ruled by just mutants. And I'll give that Ice Cube does give a great performance just to show off on how Superfly feels, and he even gives Superfly the most character arc and more layers. Yes, he is type of characters. Well, if you're in the point of view in the Turtles, like you want to defend the guy, but you have to defeat him because he's the villain and still wants to motivate his role. And yes. And also, before I end up the characters, I would like to mention that one of the actors in the film is also Mr. Beast. Yep, Mr. Beast is in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, and I gotta say that that is absolutely hilarious. Yes, yes, and I actually did prepare myself to see Mr. Beast appear in the film, but before getting into the entirety of itself. So good on yourself, Logan. You are quite intelligent than I thought you would be. And all we need to get from these turtles is that they do stand out and in both personalities and to the things that they do, and that's all you need for a TMNT film. And the characters certainly get the job done. As for the animation, I know some people would just compare it to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse because it is the same usual type of style you see in most of 2D/3D anime films out there. But to be honest, I don't blame them, since this is one of the best looking animation styles ever used for a TMNT anime film, including this. Sure, the Spider-Verse style is a bit obvious whenever the characters moves, where it has less frames than usual. But it does still work for the Spider-Verse style that I was trying to go through. And as for the character designs, they do have a bit of that muddy and and quite a mutated look to them, and in the lack of a better term, messy. And on top of being messy, they do kind of feel uncomfortable. They are a bit off to look at, and it's the perfect style for this movie. Since we are talking about a film where it is set around mutants, and sure, the humans are a bit like that as well, where you look a lot more mutated than humans regularly do. They do fit well into the tone of the film, where it is still quite mutated, and it does help out with the action scenes. And they are the best part of the animation. They go hard with any creativity can go through in order for the turtles to stop criminals. Even for like the backgrounds, especially for New York, that still gives out a bit of some 2D like 3D palette onto them. Mostly, whenever you look further into the background, you can still see that it has some 2D elements in it. And obvious use of this through the effects. It's mostly through the use of smoke, fire, and even explosions. And they really look like they're paint paleted, even if they are CGI'd. Sure, it's Spider-Verse, but that still makes the animation very exciting to watch. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is a lot like in the situation as the Turtles are. While the humans may see them as just mutants and can't be accepted from the crowd, as they are on, they do get accepted for what they do best, and that's what makes them part of our heroes. And while the plot itself could have used a lot more workings on it, and Cynthia Utrom could have been a much better villain, it does help with a pretty solid enough story, beautiful Spider-Verse style like animation, and awesome action scenes, some pretty fun characters, enjoyable comedy, and actors that give out a great performance. And and I would definitely recommend this for TMNT fans. Even for newcomers, they can get enjoyable to this, and they could probably relate to Turtles that want to get accepted for who they are. And just like how the Turtles are trying to get accepted by the viewers, I would definitely accept this film by giving this the seal of masterpiece. And to be fair, after watching this film, I am quite prepared to know what Nickelodeon has in store. Even if the films are officially now going to be just being used by pop culture once it's their original IPs, which is sad since they're mostly going on to Paramount Plus, but I'll still get more stuff from Nickelodeon to know the enjoyment that will come out of them. Next time on Kyle's Reviews is
Monkey King. Man, that's really catchy.